Simon Fell, welcome to 7:30.
Thank you for having me.
The Australian opposition leader Peter Dutton says that the UK does not have the capacity to build a new submarine for Australia. You know those shipyards better than almost any politician. Is he right?
I am a relatively junior politician, but I do know it is probably not a good idea for me to get involved in the spat between two political parties in another country. But the shipyard in Barrow is second to none. I was there a couple of weeks ago as we launched HMS Anson. The capacity and the capability of the people there is fantastic. So I know if we are asked to deliver, we will do it.
But just on the facts of this, because this is not really a political question for you, what the opposition leader was saying, and he was the former defence minister, and he says he's speaking from knowledge, was that he was told that those shipyards do not have the capacity to produce a new submarine in a timely way for Australia. Now, you know about the capacity of those shipyards. Is that correct?
Well, so we obviously have the capacity for the order book that we have at present. So in the UK, we are producing the new Dreadnought class. We've got two more of the Anson class to get out the door. And then there's SSNR, so the next generation of hunter-killer subs. AUKUS would be on top of that. That would mean capacity building, obviously, in terms of both physical capacity on the site and number of employees and all that sort of thing we need to get right. But we have the capacity to do that, and there are plans in place to make that expansion if necessary, I'm sure. And those capacity constraints are felt on the other side of the pond as well. I know the US is under similar pressures.
But to be clear, with what you know about the shipyards at Barrow and Furness, the capacity to build a new submarine could be scaled up if required.
100%. If asked, we will deliver.
Isn't it inevitable, building a new model of such a complex fighting machine, that there would be teething problems with a new class of submarine that would cause delays?
Well, I think we've learnt over time, actually. So the class of submarines that we are getting out of the door now. So we've got the last two of the Astute class to go. You know, there were teething problems early in that because we were learning our way through it, and because, frankly, we were in a position where the design kept changing a little bit because technology moved on. We're now in a position because of the incredible work that's gone on by the planning teams and the management in the shipyard, where they have a steady drumbeat of getting these things out. And as we move into the bombers, that is planned in a similar way. They've got far better at that regularization process of not dropping tools for one project and moving on to the next one. I would see this as a similar progression. Now, there's a huge amount of planning work that would obviously need to be done to incorporate this, make sure that we've got the right people in the right place at the right time. But from what I've seen from producing the classes of submarines we're getting out at the moment, that is not an insurmountable challenge. We can get it done.
I think the argument was that that the US has what the former defence minister, now opposition leader, calls headroom, that the US has the capacity, whereas the UK, where you are, does not.
Well, I simply don't accept that. And, you know, I don't particularly want to get into a he said, she said, or cast any aspersions against our colleagues in the States who, you know, we heavily rely on for our own programme, of course. But, you know, I know they have struggled with capacity. I know they've struggled to keep up the regular schedule of delivery, whereas we are now hitting a good pace. So, you know, again, I'll go back to that point I made. I think this is one where we can all win.
So you know very well how long it's taken to build up the capacity to be able to build nuclear-powered submarines in the north of England. How complex a task would it be to transfer those skills to Australia?
You know, I don't think we should, you know, beat around the bush on this. It is hideously complex. So it was described to me when I was first elected in 2019. I visited the site that there is one thing more complex than a nuclear submarine, and that is the International Space Station. And you know, we are currently in the business in Barrow of producing 7 of these at the moment, and then we've got the SSNR program, the next generation program, to follow that. The fact you can do that at pace and continue to deliver is an incredibly impressive thing. So, you know, we shouldn't take our eyes off the fact that this is going to be a massive challenge for Australia to step up and build those skills and build that manufacturing base itself. But that's where we can really lean in and help, because we have been through a period of massive growth in our shipyard. We've learned what it takes to get apprenticeship programs off the ground, to build in those skills that will last for generations. And that's, I think, where we can really help you step up.
And do you expect to see Australian engineers and expert tradesmen coming to train in England, were this to happen?
I would expect so, and I would expect the full stack of exchanges. So I know we are going to be having Royal Australian Navy officers training on HMS Anson, the boat that just left Barrow weekend before last. So from that deep integration there all the way through to the manufacturing line, I would fully expect that we will be working hand in glove with them. And
have you seen an increase in AUKUS, in visits related to the AUKUS programme recently?
There've been a fair few. It's fair to say, and this is good. The closer we work together, the better the details of this program will be when it finally gets signed. And does that make you optimistic that the UK could be the place chosen to make the first submarine for Australia? Well, I hope so. It will be a very silly politician who sat in front of you and said that their shipyard wasn't the best in the world. But I genuinely think Barrow's is. We produce some amazing things there, and we've got incredible people working there who are dedicated to the cause. I really hope we can help you step up and produce at least some of the early parts of this endeavour together. Simon Fell, thank you very much indeed for joining us. Thank you for having me.